All right, let's learn together. Today we're going to vacuum form a piece for a recent project. This is a GSXR Suzuki motorcycle that I made out of soda cans, glue, and paint. I made it about 2 years ago, I think, and I was unhappy with the windscreen and the tank, and I've decided to rebuild those two things. And I'm going to take in vacuum form a piece of plastic, you can see it here, with this vacuum forming machine. So hopefully this works out. Let's learn together. Things first, you need a vacuum forming machine. There's a whole lot of options out there. I did some research and I found these on eBay, Amazon. They're like $120, and they come with the heating element, the vacuum suction motor, all in one kit. Dentists use these. It's a pretty simple thing. So basically what you want to do is swivel the heating element out of the way. This opens up, and you buy these plastic splints. They come, from eBay, Amazon, and you put the splint into here. Now, I understand that you don't have to buy the dental splints. They're not that expensive, maybe $10 for a package. You can use soda bottles or any other type of plastic that can be heated and softened. You'll lower this down, then lock it into place, and of course you want to raise it up so that way the heating element can soften the plastic. And then when you're done, you'll turn off the heat real quick and turn on the vacuum, and of course drop it down. And that's what these holes are for. Of course, there's another step here. If you want to shape something, you have to kind of make a mold. So I just want to make a mold around this. That is a piece of polymer clay. I took polymer clay, heated it up. I don't know why I said heated it up. Shaped it, and then I heated it to harden it. And I'm going to use this as my experimental mold. We'll put this into here, and hopefully, if all goes well, we will have a piece of plastic that I could cut and shape into the windshield or windscreen for this motorcycle. Okay, let's turn this on. Turn on the heat. We will swivel that over. That is going to soften the plastic. This is my first time using this, so I'm going to learn, and hopefully this will be successful and you can learn as well. With a bit of research, I've read that you want this to kind of watch it, and when the plastic starts sagging, maybe a 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch, you'll know that it's soft enough that you can drop it down. But I'm not going to drop it quite yet. The heat is definitely going. You can swivel this over and feel it. I can also see, if I look in there, that the plastic definitely seems to be changing its appearance and slowly becoming softer. We're not far away from actually vacuum forming this. I'm really crossing my fingers. Of course, you can see that it's definitely heating up, starting to sag. I think we're getting close. kind of loud. We'll let it cool off. I'm so excited. Wow, that did a pretty good job. That really sucked it to the base. Pulled right around that. Let's go ahead and see if we can open this up here. Oh yeah, not bad at all. We'll pop this out. Hold on, I have to use two hands. Yeah, I popped it out and we have a concave surface that I can now shape for the windscreen. That's pretty cool. Of course, there's a couple things I need to address in the future. The little bit of, you see the dirt. Thankfully, it's scraping right off. And of course, you know, maybe I can find a releasing agent. They say that cornstarch might help. But now I have a mold here that can save for any future windscreens or bubbles or something. So there you go. Don't worry, I'm going to give you the finished result with the motorcycle. But this is actually a pretty cool way to vacuum form stuff. You can use wood and whittle it into the shape that you want. Today I was at the store looking for wood that would be soft enough that would work, and I realized, wait a second, why can't I use polymer clay? I could shape this in no time, throw it in the oven, harden it, and use it, and it was successful. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little moment of education in regards to art. But this definitely is worth it. If I make 5 pieces of art with it, it will have paid itself off. Actually, if I make just 1 piece of art that I'm happy with, the price of this is well worth it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. So sorry, I realized after reviewing the footage that I messed it up. In my excitement of doing my first vacuum forming piece, I inadvertently hit take photo instead of take video. So let me recap. You'll put the dental splint or piece of plastic into the frame. You'll raise it up, swivel the heat over, turn on the heat, and wait for it to soften. There's not much of a learning curve because I was able to do a pretty good one on my first try. Once you're confident, you'll want to turn off the heat and immediately drop down the frame, so that way the bed can create the suction and form the piece that you want around whatever mold you put in there. Once that happens, within like 6 or 7 seconds, you can turn off the vacuum, swivel this out of the way, raise it up, and then take your piece out of that frame. Pretty darn nice. I make this video just to encourage you that if you want to be creative, you can be. You don't have to follow any particular rules. There are a ton of options out there, whether it's whittling wood, whether it's shaping metal, using clay. There's so many ways of being creative. Just learn, adopt new techniques, be willing to embrace them, and let your artistic side come out. Thanks for watching. Alright, now that we have vacuum formed this piece, let's turn it into a windscreen for my soda can sculpture motorcycle. We're going to take an X-Acto and of course go around and cut this out. I've already done most of it. Let me go ahead and finish the rest of this off. Sorry, my filming isn't the best when I'm trying to hold it, but you get the idea. Just cut this out. Looking at pictures of what the windscreen looks like, I kind of came to the conclusion that this is probably the shape that I need. That way, when it curves around the front, it will kind of mimic. So I have to transfer this shape to the plastic, of course accounting for shrinkage and distortion and such. So it's kind of a work in progress. You kind of have to make things to be an optical illusion. It's probably never going to be perfect, but as long as the audience sees what you want them to see. I want people to see a Gixxer 1000. Hopefully they'll recognize this bike. I know where the imperfections are, and really that's all that matters. Okay, now if we look at this, we will realize that there's a more pronounced curve towards the outer edge than there is on the flatter edge. So trying to recreate this windscreen, I'm not going to go from all the way to the end, because I think that would be way too much of a curve. But if I push it up, there's a bit of a more softer curve. So take my little fine Sharpie here, and I will try to transfer this general shape onto the plastic. Okay, now that I have traced that shape onto the clear plastic, I think we can see that that concave shape should translate well. Let's go ahead and cut this out. Let me grab my curved scissors, and I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera so that way I don't have to look through the screen. Well, maybe I can do it while recording. And yes, it does help to have a pair of curved scissors when you're doing real tight things like this. It's not necessary. You can do it with a straight scissor if you want. But any artist, as they grow, realize that there are tools at your disposal to help you do things a little bit easier and more accurately. So of course, here we go. Now we have this windscreen. I'm going to take an eraser and try to clean off some of these Sharpie lines. I'll also take, hold on for a second, I'll show you what I mean. A little torch, and you see some of these jagged edges. If you're careful, with experience, you can kind of like just barely lick it. You see the way that the heat barely touched it and it cleaned that edge up? Not too many other edges that need to be cleaned up, but hopefully you were able to see that on camera. You go ahead and do this one a little bit. There's nothing really to clean up, but you know what I mean. It's like, barely touch it. Do you see that corner move right there? I'll try to... There you go. You see that one move a little bit? Once you get a little bit of practice, you can kind of play with it and clean the edges up, and hopefully when we put this on here, let's see, it's always I definitely think it needs some reshaping. Also, I have to consider how I'm going to mount this so that way it doesn't look ugly. And more importantly, we have to compare this to the way it actually looks in real life to make sure that it's good enough. Okay, after a little bit more fitment, I realized I needed to cut some of this front section off. Also, I realized I really need to take some of these sharp edges off. So we'll use these scissors and kind of blunt these edges here a little bit. Doesn't take much, just kind of round them off a little bit. It's a little hard to do when you have a camera right in front of you, but there you go. They're a little bit more rounded. And of course you can take something like, I'll do this for you, sandpaper, and you can round the edges a little bit. You can use heat from a torch or a lighter, but I choose not to risk the flame because that's a lot of heat, and hopefully we can round it off. But I don't know if you just saw that there was a little bit of a kind of a stray plastic on that I didn't really like, so I will kind of touch that, just barely touch it, and I think there we have more of a natural look instead of having a squared edge. Let's do that to the front edge also. We'll knock that down just a hair. I mean, think about it, guys. Art is something that it comes down to details. How accurate do you want it to look? Sometimes you can get away with egregious mistakes, but sometimes you can't. You have to chase perfection. I'm not saying this is perfection, but this is closer than the windscreen I had previously. Now we'll try to put this on here and see what it looks like. Is that more natural looking? I think it is. Of course, when I look at photos, it looks a little bit higher, so I might drop it down just a little. Like, instead of being this high, dropping it down to this high might be a little bit better. So you can see by that black line right there how much more I need to bring this down. So let's go ahead and do that now. We will just kind of eyeball it. I mean, there's no real wrong way to do it, and there's no absolutely right way to do it. But if you want it done right, it doesn't hurt. Just take a couple minutes extra to see if it's what you actually want. Now, if I put that to the line, I think that's pretty good. So we'll go ahead and affix this with glue off camera, and we'll come back to it, and you can tell me what you think. Here is a completed project. It's not perfect, but it definitely looks like 2004 Suzuki GSXR. I mean, this thing is small. This is my hand. Made entirely out of soda cans, glue, paint, and a tiny bit of plastic for the windscreen. I hope you like this type of content. Thanks for watching.